This is the September-October 2016 issue of the BVA Bulletin, Volume 71, Number 5. Dale Stamper of Hayden, Idaho, continues as the duly elected national president of the Blinded Veterans Association. Joe Parker of Pisgah Forest, North Carolina, remains as the national vice president. Paul Mims of Kansas City, Missouri, is the national secretary, and Joseph McNeil of Columbus, Georgia, continues to serve as BVA's national treasurer. The district directors are as follows: Dennis O'Connell of Long Beach, New York, representing District 1, David Fox of Kettering, Ohio, the District 2 director, and newly elected Vernon Richmond of Haw River, North Carolina, directing District 3. Genesea Morrow of Gilbert, Arizona, is the new director from District 4. Paul Kaminsky of Middleburg, Florida, continues to represent District 5, and Dr. Thomas Zampieri of Pearland, Texas, serves the BVA membership in District 6. Mark Cornell of San Antonio, Texas, is the association's immediate past national president. Additional appointed officers are Charles Brooks of Kissimmee, Florida, as national chaplain, Monica Gilmore of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, as the national sergeant-at-arms, and two honorary board members, Joe Burns of New Orleans, Louisiana, and Dr. Donald Gagliano of National Harbor, Maryland. Blinded Veterans Association auxiliary officers continue much as they were prior to the 71st National Convention, with one exception. They are President Sandy Krasnodemsky of Allen Park, Michigan, Vice President Edna Kirksey Dixon of Bay Minette, Alabama, Secretary and newcomer Benjamin Holmes of Midland, Georgia, and Treasurer Carl Heitinen of Seekonk, Massachusetts. Pam Hogan of Canyon Country, California, is the auxiliary reporter and author of this issue's Auxiliaries View column. BVA's national headquarters staff members are Executive Director Al Avina, Administrative Director Bridget Jones, National Field Service Program Director Edward Eckroth, and Chief Financial Officer Kathy Rouet. The Director of Government Relations is Melanie Brunson. The National Field Service Training Coordinator is Wade Davis. Christina Hitchcock is the Manager of Projects and Conventions, while the Manager of Communications and BVA Bulletin Editor is Stuart Nelson. The Human Resource Specialist for the headquarters is Chrissy Spence-Gilbert. BVA's full-time National Field Service Resource Center officers are Claudia Belk, Joaquin Espinoza, Wanda Grover, and John Kessler. BVA National Headquarters is currently located at 125 Northwest Street, Alexandria, Virginia, 22314. Each full-time headquarters staff member can be reached by dialing 202-371-8880 or toll-free 1-800-669-7079, and by then following prompts that connect the caller to the correct department and individual. Email communication will be forwarded to the appropriate recipient when sent through BVA's general email address, bva@bva.org. The organization's combined federal campaign number remains 10513. The BVA Bulletin is published bi-monthly by and for all blinded veterans. There is no charge to receive the print version of the publication, which is available upon request of the national headquarters to any interested individual or organization. Requests for multiple copies will be honored whenever possible. An audio compact disc version is mailed to annual and life members upon specific request. Contents of this issue of the Bulletin are represented by the following major headings: Legislative Update by Melanie Brunson, President's Page by Dale Stamper, City of Festivals imparts hospitality, warmth, Sharp Yates lived BVA motto by Stuart Nelson and Charlie C.T. Vessil, Plaque honors Servant of Blinded Veterans by Charlie C.T. Vessil, To Update or Not to Update by Timothy Hornick, Around BVA, Auxiliaries View by Pam Hogan, Happenings in District 4 by Genesea Morrow, From the Field Staff by Ed Eckroth, Letters to the Editor, In Remembrance, and the now customary final thought. Two photos are presented on the cover of the September-October issue of the BVA Bulletin. The first of the two, at the reader's left, depicts two gentlemen in formal business attire standing together. Both are smiling broadly. The man on the left is also wearing a formal BVA service cap, while the man on the right is assisted by a white cane. The former is turned slightly toward the latter and is attempting to present him with a gavel. Half of the latter gentleman's name badge is visible. A second photo reveals two additional convention attendees, one a lady on the reader's left and the other a gentleman. Both are dressed in business casual attire. Their name badges reveal them as Nohemi Marquez and Netfali Sanchez. The cover caption for both photos, located on page 2, reads as follows: The annual BVA Awards Banquet, a festive evening of fine dining and recognition for dedicated service held August 26, was the grand finale of a BVA 71st National Convention brim with opportunities for training, learning new technology, participation in official business meetings, and a bit of nostalgia and partying with old and new friends. These features and several others are recapped in this issue of the Bulletin. At left, Dale Stamper presents Gold Gavel to Louisiana Regional Group Secretary Gary Scholerman. At right, BVA Acting National Chaplain Netvali Sanchez with Sister Nohemi Marquez. Chaplain Sanchez reminisced about the first convention he attended in precisely the same hotel property exactly 60 years ago. See this issue's convention recap. Legislative update by Melanie Brunson. A thumbnail, shoulder-length color photograph of Melanie is located at the beginning of her legislative update. The depiction shows her with dark glasses and smiling ever so faintly. There is no caption with the photo. The legislative update begins. House bills seek to improve VA operations. In mid-September, the House of Representatives passed 2 bills relating to the policies and procedures of the Department of Veterans Affairs, VA. The first was H.R. 5620, the VA Accountability and Appeals Modernization Act. There are 2 parts to this bill. The first contains provisions designed to make it easier for the VA Secretary to discipline and, when necessary, fire employees who engage in illegal or unethical activity during the course of their employment or are found to be, quote, poor performers, end quote. The bill also revamps the claims appeal process to create more options for veterans seeking reconsideration of a decision regarding their eligibility for benefits. The next step for this bill is review by the Senate. Unfortunately, this is not likely to occur prior to its rapidly approaching pre-election recess. Stay tuned for more information on this bill once Congress has returned in November. The second bill passed by the House extends VA's authority to continue many of its programs and services into the next fiscal year, which begins October 1st. At press time, the Senate had actually approved this legislation already, and President Obama was likely to sign it when it reached his desk. Although the aforementioned legislation gives VA the authority it needs to continue operations, the full funding needed was still in limbo at the time of this writing. Members of both parties from both houses of Congress are working to negotiate a spending plan to keep the government running after October 1st. With time getting away from them very rapidly and their own plan to recess in order to campaign in their home districts throughout the month of October, there is still much quibbling about what should be included in the spending package. Even if they did complete work on a spending package, it would be accomplished through a continuing resolution that would be effective only through December 9th. This means that when Congress returns after the election, all of the bickering over what gets funded and for how much and for how long will start all over again. Protecting veterans with mental illness. A photo accompanies this subsection of the legislative update. A group of formally dressed individuals are standing together outdoors. Trees are visible in the background. 6 faces are seen, and portions of 3 signs held up by members of the group are partially readable. One says, "There is hope and help," and then includes an 800 number, followed by an instruction to press number 1 on the telephone. 3 men in the group are wearing service caps. The caption states, Melanie Brunson, middle of photo, joined representatives of other veterans service organizations and members of Congress at September 13 press conference in support of veterans with mental illness due to TBI and PTSD. The legislative update continues. On September 13th, I attended an outdoor press conference just outside the U.S. Capitol building initiated by Vietnam Veterans of America and a bipartisan group of 10 lawmakers. Dozens of veterans service organizations, including BVA, were invited to attend and stand behind the speakers in support. Unitedly, we called for the final version of a defense policy bill to include language aimed at protecting service members and veterans with mental illness from less than honorable discharges. All of the members of Congress present delivered brief remarks. Also speaking was Tyson Manker, a Marine who was discharged dishonorably from the military in 2003 after suffering from PTSD and who found himself stripped of his GI Bill, his Illinois Veterans Grant, a signing bonus, service-related compensation, and his eligibility for VA health care. When Manker later sought to upgrade his discharge status, he discovered that others with mental health conditions faced the same bureaucratic challenges. The amendment in question, the Veterans Fairness Act, was attached to the Senate's passed version of the National Defense Authorization Act in late summer with unanimous support. It would require Defense Department panels that review discharges to consider medical evidence from a veteran's health care provider. Panels would have to review each case, presuming that post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injury, or sexual assault trauma led to the discharge. Manker is now an attorney and law professor from Illinois, running for a county attorney office. The House is yet to pass the NDAA. At press time, the conference committee is on a tight deadline to pass a final bill with the Senate, scheduled for recess on October 7th. Manker and several members of Congress called on President Obama to issue an executive order to make the reform effective in the absence of congressional action. Appropriations for veterans. The goal is for Congress to pass longer-term appropriation bills before the end of 2016 so that government agencies will know how much money they have as they plan for the year ahead. Once the elections are over, it is hoped they will settle down and devote some serious attention to reaching this goal. If they can accomplish it, there is a chance that the legislation BVA has supported during the last couple of years will be incorporated into the appropriations bills for VA and the Department of Defense. Some members of Congress are still hoping to pass omnibus or minibus legislative packages. One of the packages under consideration would include several bills relating to veterans programs and benefits. BVA is joining other veterans service organizations in trying to influence the content of such a package so that it will contain the items that most benefit veterans while maintaining a reasonable chance to make it through both houses of Congress and quickly across President Obama's desk. Stay tuned for details as they become available after Election Day. Same-day appointments available by end of year. Undersecretary for Health Dr. David J. Shulkin recently announced that all VA medical centers will soon have the ability to schedule same-day appointments for those who require them. The projected date for this milestone is December 31st. Dr. Shulkin has indicated that the priority for the change at the Veterans Health Administration, VHA, is extremely high, particularly when it comes to scheduling appointments for mental health services. Because the ability of veterans in crisis to obtain mental health services when they need them is a key component of VA's suicide prevention campaign, the department has ramped up efforts to ensure that medical facilities nationwide will be able to meet the needs of veterans in such emergencies. New Center for Women Veterans. A new office staffed by women veterans will help VA better understand and address the concerns of women veterans. The staff is currently attempting to reach out to women across the country to let them know of resources that are available to them and to educate the public about the concerns and needs of women veterans. Visit their resource page on the VA website or find them on social media for further information. Interested parties in weekly updates from BVA can also subscribe to an email list that will send a range of resources directly to their inbox. The legislative landscape can change frequently, and when such changes occur between issues of the Bulletin, we will post updates on the BVA website so that our readers do not have to wait several weeks for them. They can also contact me at BVA National Headquarters by phone or send a detailed email with their questions to mbrunson, that's MBRUNSON, at bva.org. President's Page by Dale Stamper. A broadly smiling Dale Stamper is seen in a small shoulder-length thumbnail photograph at the beginning of his column. Dale's formal attire consists of a dress shirt and tie. There is no caption. His President's Page begins as follows. I began writing this message for our Bulletin readers on September 12th. Later that morning, I participated in a 9/11 Day of Remembrance ceremony and was privileged to lay a wreath on behalf of BVA. It has been 15 years since that day became solidly fixed in the memories of all of us. My wife Cora and I were in Canada with my nephew and his wife on a short 2-day holiday. We woke up to the shocking news of the planes crashing into the World Trade Center towers. Just 3 months short of 60 years earlier, another generation woke up to the news that Pearl Harbor had been attacked. These two events are tied together in the fabric of our national conscience. We will never forget where we were and what we were doing when these events took place. The two events are also connected to the Blinded Veterans Association. BVA was established by a small group of optimistic and energetic World War II blinded veterans to meet the needs of those returning with vision loss. In like manner, although at least 2 generations separate these two groups, we have blinded veterans today that have served in response to the attack on September 11, 2001, in Operation Enduring Freedom, Afghanistan, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and Operation New Dawn. Just like the World War II generation, many men and women, some young and some older, responded to the call to defend the nation and immediately volunteered to serve. Also similar is the approach taken by those who have now returned with loss of vision to face their futures. They are doing so with hope and optimism. Many have great energy and purpose, exemplified by their participation in activities promoted and or organized through BVA's Operation Peer Support Initiative. The two groups are most definitely bound together by these similarities and perhaps by many others. As Americans, we have a marvelous heritage and tradition of citizens rallying for a cause. It can be traced back to Minutemen gathering at Lexington and Concord. Volunteers following Andrew Jackson to the Battle of New Orleans continued the legacy. The same can be said of the soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen who willingly served in World Wars I and II, Korea, the Gulf War, and Vietnam. We also recognize the bravery and integrity of those first responders on September 11, 2001. I proudly represented BVA as our community conducted the Day of Remembrance ceremony, honoring those who served. Because 2 sixth-grade classes were in attendance, this occasion for me was an opportunity to participate in something that recognized the passing on of a heritage of selfless service to the next generation. It was also an opportunity to let others know who we are as blinded veterans and that there is an organization that both serves us and which offers us opportunities to serve one another. City of Festivals imparts hospitality, warmth. There are 9 photos accompanying this section of the bulletin. Each will be described with its corresponding section. The first photo has been placed with the section's introduction. It shows a lady seated to the reader's left in the photo. Next to her is a gentleman wearing dark glasses and a baseball cap. Both are casually dressed. The lady is smiling broadly while the man manages only a faint smile. The caption reads, "During a hectic convention schedule of meetings and other activities, Dale Stamper and his wife Cora took a break to see the Milwaukee Brewers in action at Miller Park on August 25th. The account of this year's convention begins with the following. Surrounded by the intricate glitz and glamour reminiscent of the 1920s, and highlighted by Art Deco-style paintings on the ceiling, detailed in gold leaf and complemented by extravagant chandeliers, attendees of the BVA 71st National Convention at the Hilton Milwaukee City Center Hotel and Convention Center took in a rousing opening session, business meetings, educational offerings, and an unprecedented number of exhibitors. They also enjoyed social events that took them to a renowned museum, a state-of-the-art baseball stadium, and a Midwestern casino. Excluding the exhibitors, convention attendees consisted of 123 blinded veterans, 54 guests, and 10 staff members. They were greeted with Midwestern hospitality and friendliness. Major convention events were covered by local CBS 58 television and the Thursday edition of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. The week of stimulating activities, debates, and instruction was officially adjourned with Dale Stamper's lowering of the gavel at the end of the Friday evening awards banquet. Milwaukee milestone for longtime BVA chaplain. Netfali Sanchez, serving this year as acting national chaplain in Chaplain Charles Brooks' absence, shared a significant piece of BVA history and personal nostalgia with fellow convention attendees. I came to this same hotel property in 1956 to attend my first ever BVA convention at 22 years of age and to meet Father Thomas Carroll for the first time, he said on the convention floor at the conclusion of the closing business session. Unbelievably, here I am still 60 years later as a longtime BVA member and after having been honored to serve as a chaplain for so many years." End quote. Talley was the BVA National Chaplain for 32 years, 1979 to 2011. He made a similar statement before the entire convention body the previous day at the Father Carroll Luncheon prior to offering the event's invocation. The BVA 11th National Convention was held August 1st to 4th, 1956 at the Hotel Schroeder, now a remodeled and much larger Hilton Milwaukee City Center Hotel. Every T crossed on Viper Ride. The accompanying photo reveals 2 men looking over and admiring a motorcycle. Other motorcycles are visible behind them. In the distant background are trees, a sign, and a few persons standing. The caption states, "Tail Gunner Kenny Adams, Greater Houston Regional Group, receives pre-Viper Ride briefing from his pilot for the day, Steve Karolek of Delafield, Wisconsin." The two had just been filmed and interviewed for a local television news segment in Milwaukee. The text of the subsection begins, "Although it is not an official convention activity, a first-of-its-kind motorcycle ride was the talk of the Hilton for the entire week as a dozen or so attendees took off from the Clement J. Zablocki VA Medical Center on motorcycles early in the morning of August 21st. The event was also organized by Father Carroll Luncheon speaker and BVA of Wisconsin Regional Group President John Carter, a resident of the Milwaukee suburb of Greenfield. The inaugural Viper ride, Viper signifying visually impaired patriots experiencing the road, arrived in the small town of East Troy at midday for a pit stop and barbecue lunch that was hosted by the town and surrounding areas, and which included a musical duo of singers with their guitars. It was also a community event that invited the general public to come and purchase lunch with the veterans, who were served all the food they could eat by Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, and their leaders. The contingency of 48 tail gunners, blinded veteran riders, their pilots, the drivers, and other volunteers, medical personnel, and news reporters returned to Milwaukee in the late afternoon. The round-trip ride took the group 110 miles on major highways and side roads. Also accompanying them were 10 law enforcement officers, 8 on motorcycles and 2 in squad cars, to stop traffic throughout the experience. This was an amazing display of community and law enforcement support that I had never observed before, said John. 2 officers would block one intersection while the others would head up to subsequent intersections. When all of the motorcycles had passed one intersection, they would head up to the next available problem intersection. End quote. Although he was slow to take credit for the success of the event, preferring to heap praise on the committee he had organized to carry it out, John made certain that every I was dotted and every T crossed throughout the 8 months of planning. Plans are well underway and now confirmed for a second annual Milwaukee Viper ride on August 20th, 2017, with a slightly different trip route. Exhibit Hall sets new record. 3 convention attendees are seen standing in an accompanying photo in front of the ERA Company exhibit. All are wearing their name badges. The gentleman at the reader's far right is wearing a BVA service cap and has a white cane. The lady at the far left is wearing an Arkansas Razorbacks t-shirt. The young man in the middle is wearing an ERA shirt. The caption describes the photo thus: BVA Arkansas Regional Group member James Lay, right, and wife La Vesta with Mac Villarreal of ERA in the exhibit hall. ERA was a major sponsor of the convention. The subsection is expressed as follows. More than 50 exhibitors, including 12 companies completely new to the BVA convention, visited with attendees of both the BVA convention and the VA Blind Rehabilitation Service Conference as they checked out new products and technology. The group assembled in the exhibit hall was the largest ever at a BVA national convention. New vendors included the National Beep Baseball Association, ERA, New Eyes, and Orcam. Longtime attendee Thomasina Perry, Vice President of Sales for LS&S, renewed friendships with the veterans that extend well over a decade. According to convention project assistant Chelsea Dumond, Sprint Vision gave an iPad to one lucky attendee, while several veterans with total vision loss were able to take a test drive using the ERA glasses, which function for a blind or visually impaired person similar to the way in which an OnStar device works in a vehicle. The word amazing was the one I most often heard to describe the technology presented throughout the exhibit hall, said Chelsea. Educational sessions inform and motivate. Blinded veterans Jim Hogan, Phil Ferris, Gary Traynor, Bob Smith, and Doris Jones conducted educational sessions for their fellow members. The presentations were complemented by sessions conducted by staff members covering White Cane Day, officer training, and BVA advocacy activities. BVA members were also able to experience new technology through a presentation by Bill Bowles on the Amazon Echo. According to Chelsea, those attending the convention and who also completed a survey form unanimously agreed that they had left the session learning something new and would recommend it to a fellow blinded veteran and or caregiver. They commented often that the Amazon Echo was extremely valuable. Focus groups for guide dog users, golf enthusiasts, and a newly established women veterans group within BVA met during the evening of August 24th. Attendees meet and greet at annual reception. Tuesday evening hosted the official kickoff to the convention with the President's Reception, sponsored again this year by America's Vet Dogs and also by Non-24 by Vanda. Following the meal, representatives from ERA, America's Vet Dogs, New Eyes, and Non-24 energized the crowd and received applause after pledging future sponsorship of the BVA convention while accentuating both the service owed to our veterans and the need for new technology for the blind and visually impaired community. Both Dale Stamper and Al Avina welcomed attendees to the convention. Unlike other president's receptions that have been served buffet style, the event consisted of a full-course dinner served by the hotel staff. Selfless volunteers give needed assistance. Two volunteers are depicted in a photo accompanying this subsection. The gentleman at the reader's left is wearing a Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW, service cap and a VFW white dress shirt. A lady at the right is wearing a dark golf shirt with the embroidered Visit Milwaukee logo. The two are clearly standing in front of a wallpapered background inside the Hilton Hotel. The caption reads, "Volunteers from the local community such as Russ Owens of VFW Post 10394 and Sandra Wicker of the local Convention and Visitors Bureau of Visit Milwaukee are always an invaluable component of every BVA National Convention." The subsection offers the following. BVA National Conventions would not be possible without the cheerful service and dedication of volunteers, both the regulars who serve each year as well as those recruited in local areas by Convention Volunteer Coordinator Extraordinaire Margarine Beeman. Volunteers at the 71st National Convention were certainly no exception. Special thanks must always be extended to Margarine, who is on duty 24/7 at both the airport and at the hotel at all conventions. She has no time to herself. Of great assistance also in Milwaukee was Russ Owens, commander of VFW Post 10394 of Hales Corners, Franklin, Wisconsin. Russ spent much of the week helping Margarine at the hotel. Volunteers such as Sandra Wicker also came from Visit Milwaukee, the Convention and Visitors Bureau of the city. Other dedicated volunteers included Kathleen Hanna and designated BVA sweetheart Lindsay Rouet. Dignitaries energize opening business section. In an accompanying photo, two gentlemen, one of whom is Dale Stamper on the left, face one another. Dale appears to be examining a Braille document with his fingers. The man on the right is looking down while holding up the top end of the document. The large ceremonial BVA flag is partially visible in the background. In the foreground on the table is a bottle with a Coca-Cola label. The caption states, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, right, presented Dale Stamper with Braille version of proclamation declaring August 24th Blinded Veterans Association Day throughout the state of Wisconsin. The subsection begins. The official opening of the convention came with a bang as dignitary attendees included Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett, Senator Ron Johnson, Republican of Wisconsin, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, and Representative Gwen Moore, Democrat, Wisconsin District 4, all of whom spoke before the BVA membership, their families, and VA personnel attending the concurrent BRS conference in the Convention Center. BVA was honored with official proclamations from both Barrett and Walker. In both cases, August 24th was declared Blinded Veterans Association Day. The governor's proclamation was also presented to Dale Stamper in Braille format. Quote, "Our men and women in uniform sacrifice every day to protect the freedom of our nation," said Walker. "The meaning of that sacrifice is known all too well by our veterans and their families. Today, we thank them for their courage, selflessness, and willingness to fight for our nation. We also recognize the Blinded Veterans Association for their leadership and advocacy for our blinded veterans." End quote. Secretary McDonald was greeted by applause as he opened his remarks with a short pitch for research. He related a story about Otto Catalan, a blinded veteran who served in the Persian Gulf with the Navy in the 1990s. At age 23, he was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa. Last November, a VA surgeon restored some of Otto's sight with the Argus II retinal prosthesis, better known as the bionic eye. The technology converts images through a camera and transmits them wirelessly to an implant in the eye. The implant sends the images to the brain. "But here's what it really does," said Secretary McDonald. "After 19 years of total blindness, Otto could see the light outside and the sidewalk. After 19 years of total blindness, Otto could see his 20-year-old son. Amazing. That's the power of research." End quote. Potpourri of themes featured at Forum. Revealed in a photo accompanying this subsection are two broadly smiling gentlemen shaking hands and looking into the camera rather than toward the other person. Both are dressed in formal business attire. A wooden paneled wall is seen in the background. The caption provides the following description. Honorary BVA board member Dr. Donald Gagliano left, greeted Dr. Thomas B. Connor, Jr., following the latter's BVA Forum presentation. Additional narrative about the Forum presentations is as follows. 4 leading authorities on emerging vision rehabilitation, consumer protection of veterans, retinal research, and other technological advances affecting the blind and visually impaired spoke in a forum setting on Thursday morning. Speakers were the Honorable Dr. David J. Shulkin, Undersecretary for Health for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, Thomas B. Connor, Jr., M.D., Professor of Ophthalmology and a retinal specialist at the Medical College of the Wisconsin Eye Institute, Tony Camilli of the Consumer Financial Protection Board, and Kelly Egan, Customer Relationship Manager for Sprint, focusing on services and telecommunications technology to the blind and low-vision community. Bylaws, resolutions, leadership changes. Major points of discussion at the convention included 4 new bylaw amendments passed with little or no opposition in both the established Bylaws and Resolutions Committee meeting and by the full membership during the closing business session. A 5th proposed amendment relating to the requirement of a balanced budget for the association failed to pass. The committee was initially presented with 23 proposed resolutions. 2 were removed because of irrelevance, and 16 were considered and approved as a block since they had been introduced at conventions of prior years and approved. 5 resolutions never before considered were introduced and passed with overwhelming approval by both the committee and regional group delegates. As of the Friday evening awards banquet swearing in of the national officers by Joe Burns, only 2 of the 11 National Board of Director positions had new names next to them. The President, Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer, immediate past National President, and Directors of Districts 1, 2, 5, and 6 remained on the board, while the following were either elected or appointed to their new positions: Vernon Richmond, Director of District 3, and Genesee Amaro, Director of District 4. Joe Burns and Dr. Donald Gagliano will remain as honorary members of the Board of Directors in consulting roles on financial matters and matters relating to BVA stakeholder relations. Monica Gilmore of the North Carolina Regional Group will take over as National Sergeant-at-Arms. Vernon Richmond is an active member of the Eastern Chapter of the North Carolina Regional Group, having served most recently as Vice President. He has also served for at least 1 year as Treasurer, Chaplain, and Sergeant-at-Arms within his chapter. Vernon served in the U.S. Army Combat Infantry and spent 1967 to 69 in Vietnam, much of the time as a squad leader. He received the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, and the Combat Infantry Medal during his tour of duty. He has worked as a line leader in the fabrics industry. Genesee Amaro has most recently served as the president of the Arizona Central Northern Regional Group. She is also a Vietnam-era blinded veteran. Orphaned from birth, Genesee believes that her childhood foster homes, state homes, and military service trained her well to overcome whatever challenges she faces and to adapt to any adversity. Her BVA membership began at the Southwestern Blind Rehabilitation Center in Tucson when regional group officers recruited her to be the president. She has represented BVA in state-sponsored and political veterans programs, trained as a volunteer field service officer, participated in a 5K Vision Walk fundraiser for retinal diseases, and spoken with multiple Arizona agency leaders regarding the needs of blinded veterans. For Genesee, communication throughout the district is a must, and the inclusion of the OIF-OEF veterans toward active participation with BVA is vital. John Carter recalls legendary chaplain. A photo accompanies this subsection. The subjects of the photo are 2 ladies. The lady in front and to the left has opened a bag containing a gift. Although looking down, she expresses surprise and smiles broadly. In the background is Convention Manager Christina Hitchcock, also smiling slightly as she looks on. The caption states, Nancy Pressing's Certificate of Appreciation presentation included a box of her beloved Ghirardelli chocolates, courtesy of the Minnesota Regional Group. The presentation followed John Carter's inspirational Father Carroll luncheon speech. The narrative proceeds as follows. Father Carroll took me under his wing for reasons I did not totally understand at the time, but which are now very clear to me, said John Carter. Addressing attendees of the Father Carroll luncheon, John said his experiences with the first BVA chaplain were shaped in part by events of the time: civil unrest related to the Vietnam War, racial tensions in his native Milwaukee, and the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Senator Robert Kennedy. He was a real advocate for civil rights, and although his ideas were very different from mine, he apparently saw something in me during our short private conversations that I could not see in myself at the time, he said. John Carter's experiences with Father Carroll were different from those of most blinded veterans. The latter group knew Father Carroll through interactions with him at national conventions and other BVA meetings in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. John knew him as a trainee on Father Carroll's own turf, the St. Paul's Rehabilitation Center, now Carroll Center for the Blind. John's vision loss was caused by a sniper's shotgun blast during city riots in 1967, soon after he became a patrol officer with the Milwaukee Police Department and following his service in the Marine Corps during the Vietnam War. "Father Carroll was a no-nonsense kind of guy to whom I owe a lot," he said. "He really understood blindness in terms of the losses that take place, but he also knew how to help others be the best they could be as they recovered from those losses." End quote. John received a law degree from Marquette University in 1974 and then accumulated more than 40 years of trial experience serving on both criminal and civil cases. Following John's address, BVA awarded Nancy Prussing, former VIST coordinator at the Minneapolis VA Medical Center, with a certificate of appreciation. The association also recognized the Southwestern BRC in Tucson with a plaque for its outstanding service to blinded veterans, revealed through a recent Veterans Care Review conducted there. BRC Chief Diana Kellermeyer received the award on behalf of the program she directs. Outside activities feature Harley, Brewers, Potawatomi. Still another photo has been included with this subsection of the convention recap. It shows a side view of a gentleman with dark glasses who has climbed onto an antique motorcycle. He is dressed casually and is wearing a BVA baseball cap. The old motorcycle has long handlebars that the gentleman has grasped. He has a faint smile. The caption identifies the gentleman and gives additional details as follows. An avid motorcyclist himself, Mike Kainich, of the Arizona Central Northern Regional Group, checks out the feel of an older model during visit to Harley-Davidson Museum in Milwaukee. The subsection reads as follows. The Potawatomi Hotel and Casino, clearly visible in the city's skyline, is considered an epicenter of entertainment in Milwaukee. If visits to Potawatomi on Monday and or Wednesday evening were not enough fun, a small group of convention attendees also enjoyed a 10-inning Major League Baseball game between the Milwaukee Brewers and the Pittsburgh Pirates on Thursday evening. Still, another highlight of the week came about Friday afternoon as approximately 50 veterans and family members swarmed the Harley-Davidson Museum. Attendees were given guided tours through the history of Harley-Davidson, which included a replica of the very first bike, and the controversy over which of the names Harley and Davidson should come first in the official company name. At the end of the tour, more than 10 motorcycles, tricycles, and scooters were made available to the visitors to sit on with no fear of tipping over. According to Chelsea, the staff member in charge of getting everyone to and from the museum, those feeling a bit more extravagant, like Eric Martz and Wally Guerra, were able to sit on and rev the engine of motorcycles set up on a stationary track. The Harley-Davidson visit was one very difficult event to pull people away from, she said, but the awards banquet would not wait. Dedication, sacrifice recognized at banquet. Still another side view of Dale Stamper, dressed in coat, tie, and BVA service cap, is captured in a photo that accompanies this subsection. The side view also includes a second gentleman, considerably shorter than Dale, but also formally dressed, and holding up a framed plaque of some type and an envelope. Dale has his left hand on the right shoulder of the gentleman. The caption states, Wally Guerra, Wright, congratulated by Dale Stamper as he receives Melvin Moss Award at Convention Awards Banquet. The text of the subsection begins. Guadalupe Wale Guerra of the South Texas Regional Group received this year's Melvin J. Moss Award for Professional Achievement. Wale became the president of the South Texas Regional Group in 2013. From the beginning, he spent tireless hours learning the BVA bylaws, the Regional Group Manual, and any other resources he could locate to learn his responsibilities. He evaluated the group's performance and created goals to increase transportation assistance for members, ways to connect with younger blinded veterans, and new ways to develop research programs. Ruben D. Sanchez Burgos of the Puerto Rico Regional Group is the recipient of the Irving Diener Award. Now secretary of the group, Ruben has been a BVA member since 2009. He has also served as the group's sergeant-at-arms. As secretary, Ruben has recognized and enhanced the group's filing system, introduced monthly assistance worksheets for the executive committee, and tracked volunteer hours. From 2011 until 2014, he logged more than 1,000 volunteer hours at the VA Caribbean Healthcare Center and the Puerto Rico BRC. He also implemented a group mail system which allows officers to keep in regular contact with their members. Betty Charlesworth began her service to blinded veterans in 2003 as the spouse of Robert Charlesworth, a BVA member. She assisted the regional group with paperwork and began volunteering in the VIST office in 2004. She formed a team of interested volunteers to help fold and mail newsletters to veterans, compile telephone numbers of new BVA members, and initiate a BVA auxiliary regional group in the eastern part of Oklahoma. She served as the group's first president until 2011 and has served as vice president ever since. Betty organizes potluck luncheons for White Cane Day celebrations, collects educational materials for children, participates in the Oklahoma Disability Awareness Days at the State Capitol building, and is involved in Veterans Day parades in both Tulsa and Muskogee each year. She had logged 1,894 documented VIST office volunteer hours as of March 2016. The Louisiana Regional Group earned the Gold Gavel, having seen the largest increase in number of new members of any other group. The Silver Gavel, awarded on the basis of percentage increase in members, was presented to the Emerald Coast Regional Group, one of BVA's newest regional groups. The Bronze Gavel, now in just its third year of existence, went to the Florida Regional Group. The Bronze Gavel is awarded to the group that converts the largest number of non-members, for whom BVA already has a record, into members during the fiscal year. Looking ahead to 72nd Gathering. Christina and Chelsea expressed a few final sentiments about the year's convention and their hopes for the next one. As the curtain has now come down on the 71st convention, we encourage everyone to continue serving one another in order to uphold the BVA motto, which urges us to do just that. The BVA convention staff and national headquarters would like to thank the numerous volunteers that provided assistance to our members, all of the sponsors and exhibitors who shared their knowledge and expertise with our attendees, and most importantly, our members and caregivers for being a part of such a spectacular event. A convention is not possible without attendees. With the support and feedback of everyone involved, we can continue to improve and meet the needs of our blinded veterans. We hope that all of our Bulletin readers will join us next year. Information and details about location and dates will be released to all members as soon as it becomes available. Sharp, Yates Lived BVA Motto by Stuart Nelson and Charlie C.T. Vassil. BVA recently witnessed the passing of two of its most prominent members, although they did so in different ways. Skip Sharp and A.J. Yates each dedicated much of their adult lives to helping other blinded veterans, both locally and nationally. They were fixtures at BVA national conventions and touched others' lives in a variety of ways through their actions as role models. They both persevered in life with positive attitudes and a sense of humor. Ellsworth Skip Sharp. A shoulder-length thumbnail photo of Skip Sharp accompanies this tribute to him. In the picture, he is dressed in coat and tie. The caption states, Skip Sharp, pictured in 1995, just prior to 50th Anniversary Convention in Arlington, Virginia. The tribute begins. Ellsworth L. Skip Sharp passed away on July 11, 2016. Funeral services were held 3 days later, with interment July 18th at Massachusetts Veterans Memorial Cemetery in Agawam, Massachusetts. Although Skip was known most recently for his sharp humor and wit as chairman of the Bylaws and Resolutions Committees at the national conventions, he was a leading BVA figurehead at the national level for more than 3 decades. Skip was raised in the town of Agawam. He always claimed to be a New Englander at heart, despite living elsewhere for much of his life. He was elected the 23rd national president of BVA at the 36th National Convention in Arlington, Virginia, on August 15, 1981. He was left legally blind from an accident while serving in the U.S. Air Force, where he was commissioned as an officer to fulfill his aspiration to be a pilot. Prior to entering the service, he received a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Massachusetts. Following his retirement from the service, he attended Springfield College in Massachusetts and earned a master's degree in education. After teaching mathematics courses at Agawam High School for 2 years, Skip returned to college at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, where he completed the coursework for a master's degree in mechanical engineering in 1965. Shortly thereafter, he began to work at NASA in Newport News, Virginia, and later the agency's Langley Research Center in Northern Virginia. During his 16 years with NASA, Skip engaged in applied research directed toward developing lightweight and reliable thermal protection systems for hypersonic aircraft and space reentry vehicles. While working for NASA, Skip received the Apollo Achievement Award in 1969. He was also nominated as the Langley Research Center's Outstanding Handicapped Employee in both 1977 and 1978. He won the distinction the second time. He received the University of Massachusetts Distinguished Engineering Alumnus Award in 1979. From 1981 until his retirement in 1999, Skip worked for the Food and Drug Administration as a biomedical engineer. Prior to his election as national president, Skip served 2 years as national secretary and 2 years as national vice president. He also served 2 terms as a regional group president and was the director of District 3 from 1992 until 1998. At the completion of bylaws and resolutions committee meetings and voting sessions at closing business sessions, some of which could be quite contentious, he always generated laughter and applause with the usual self-congratulatory, "Another flawless, outstanding job by the skipper." Skip is survived by his wife, Carol McDonald Sharp of Newport News, his 4 children, and 4 grandchildren. The family has directed that memorial contributions be sent to BVA in Skip's name and memory. A.J. Yates. A photo of A.J. and his wife, Corey, is described in the following caption and in the Bulletin print version to the right of the photo. In August 2004, A.J. Yates, chairman of the BVA 59th National Convention in Reno, Nevada, and wife, Corey. The couple organized several of the convention events. A.J.'s tribute begins as follows. A.J. Yates was born on January 3, 1939, and passed away this past August 3rd. He was an honorably discharged Air Force veteran who served in Vietnam and Japan. Upon his return to the States, as a low-vision veteran, he applied for and became a regional benefits counselor for the Blinded Veterans Association in the Seattle, Washington area in the mid-1970s. In 1979, A.J. applied for and was selected to be the regional benefits consultant at the Western Blind Rehabilitation Center, WBRC, located within the Palo Alto Veterans Healthcare Center in Palo Alto, California. As such, he was responsible for covering veterans in the 12 western states. In 1981, A.J. was promoted to assistant director of the WBRC. In this position, he was a key ground floor contributor to developing the family training program, the computer training program, the Division of Vision and Aging program, and the alumni program. He was a ground floor contributor in the development of job descriptions for blind rehabilitation staff that resulted in promotion from a government pay schedule level, GS-9, to a GS-11. All the above precedent-setting programs and pay promotions would not have taken place without the contributing efforts of A.J. Yates. In addition, all of these achievements were used as templates that were implemented by the VA BRCs nationally. In 1987, for medical reasons, it was necessary for A.J. to retire from the BRC. Still dedicated to serving blinded veterans, however, A.J. soon proceeded to help organize and establish the present-day BVA Central California Regional Group, CCRG. The CCRG became a holistic organization assisting and serving blinded veterans with counseling for benefits, medical care, and housing, to name just a few areas. It became one of the stronger BVA regional groups and less dependent on BVA national headquarters than many of the others. A.J. Yates proudly served his fellow veterans for decades. Along the way, he literally touched the lives of thousands, veterans, their families, and others who served them. Most importantly, at this difficult time for A.J.'s wife, Mrs. Corey Yates, she must be recognized and commended for her total support of and commitment to her husband's lifelong dedication to America's blinded veterans. A.J.'s friendship and dedication will always be remembered and memorialized in our hearts and minds. Corey has indicated that a memorial fund was not set up for donations to the CCRG, but that such donations could be made in A.J.'s name to BVA National Headquarters. She hopes that contributions will benefit the Kay Gruber or Tom Miller Scholarship Awards. Plaque to Honor Servant of Blinded Veterans by Charlie C.T. Vassil. A thumbnail shoulder-length portrait also accompanies this main section of the bulletin. The gentleman depicted is dressed in coat and tie. The caption to the right of the photo reads thus: Joe Hennessy will be remembered by a plaque to be displayed at the Southwestern Blind Rehabilitation Center in Tucson. Charlie Vassil's tribute to Joe Hennessy begins with the following. Joe Hennessy proudly served blinded veterans for 32 years. He is another servant of blinded veterans that we will never be able to forget, no matter how long he is gone. During his tenure, he was chief of the Western Blind Rehabilitation Center in Palo Alto, California, from 1982 to 1992, and was the founding chief of the Southwestern Blind Rehabilitation Center in Tucson, Arizona, from 1992 to 2000. Along the way, Joe made a profound difference in the lives of thousands of blinded veterans and those who served them. As a result, his friends and co-workers across the nation have established the Joe Hennessy Fund to provide recreational activities for veterans at the Tucson Center in memory of Joe's friendship and lifelong commitment. A plaque referencing this honor will be placed within the center's facility on a date yet to be determined. The plaque will include an epitaph of Joe and his memorial picture. Below his picture, the following statement will appear. In memory of Joseph John Patrick Hennessy, October 26, 1942, to February 28, 2016. Donations to the Hennessy Fund can be made to SAVAHCS-SWBRC Hennessy Fund. The fund's control point number is 6664. This CP number 6664 should be put in the memo on a check or money order. Donations are tax-deductible and should be sent to SAVAHCS, Voluntary Service, in parentheses 9-135, 3601 South 6th Avenue, Tucson, Arizona, 85745. Donations will be applied toward the BRC recreational outings and activities. They will provide the veteran trainees at the center with more opportunities to practice their newly learned independent rehabilitation skills while participating in and enjoying experiences such as barbecuing, fishing, water and snow skiing, camping, kayaking, golfing, bowling, baseball, and attending sporting events and concerts, to name just a few. Joe loved participating in as many of the veterans' holiday, weekend, and after-hours events and activities that he could attend. He loved seeing veterans at the events with smiles on their faces while independently utilizing their newly learned skills and techniques. Joe knew that many of the veterans entering the BRC program mistakenly believed that living an independent life was over due to their sight loss. He loved and enjoyed observing the outcome of his rehab teams. Such teams helped veterans realize that their sight loss could be converted to a positive, safe, independent, and equal life wherever they should choose to live or travel. To Update or Not to Update by Timothy Hornick. During the past 2 months, Microsoft and Apple have both released their annual operating system updates. This leaves one to ponder about the updating choice. While this decision is a relatively simple one for our sighted family and friends, the blindness community must ask the following questions. Is it compatible with my adaptive software? Will my device or system support the update? Will any of the new features or changes require assistance to learn? This review will offer guidance on these questions as they relate to the Windows 10 Anniversary, iOS 10, and Mac OS Sierra updates. Before venturing any further, keep in mind that the choice is not an easy one to make, even with the answers to those questions. I strongly encourage each of our Bulletin readers to review the information here and then ask questions during any of the Heinz Blind Center alumni and Blind Vet Tech teleconferences. I also advocate asking questions of the manufacturers or developers of selected platforms. Windows 10 Anniversary. A year after releasing Windows 10, Microsoft released the Windows 10 Anniversary Edition. The update packs new and tremendously powerful improvements, such as a smarter Cortana dark mode for those who like high contrast, the ability to sign in with just your face, and an overhaul to Narrator. The Narrator update turned the built-in screen reader from a nearly useless accessibility option into a wonderfully robust screen reader. Narrator took some lessons from VoiceOver, JAWS, and Window Eyes, becoming equally as powerful as these screen readers themselves. Also, Narrator is fully accessible with Edge and other parts of Windows. One common complaint involves the rearrangement of the Start menu. You will notice that the Shut-Off, Restart, and Log-Off options are concealed in a drop-down menu. Windows 10 Anniversary will work with versions of JAWS, NVDA, ZoomText, and other adaptive software that have been updated to work with Windows 10. If updating from Windows 8 or older, you will need to verify if your software version supports Windows 10. If you are a Narrator user, you need not worry since you just received a functional screen reader. Microsoft has stated that the rollout of Windows 10 Anniversary will occur in phases, with the newest computers receiving first dibs. If you wish to jump the line or verify if the update actually installed, look for Feature Update to Windows 10 version 1607 in Software Updates. Overall, Windows 10 Anniversary will only slightly alter your computing experience. This stems from the redesigned Start menu and Narrator. The Start menu's major irksome change involves shutting down, restarting, or logging off the computer. Microsoft placed these items in a menu with several other system controls. The Microsoft Accessibility team will be more than happy to provide assistance in this matter. The second change requiring training comes about if you choose to rely on Narrator. While JAWS, NVDA, and Narrator possess many similarities, certain navigational methods differ enough between them that a one-for-one translation is not possible. To update, navigate to Settings, Updates and Security, Windows Update, and then look for Feature Update to Windows 10 version 1607. If you have any questions about Windows 10 and accessibility, contact the Microsoft Accessibility team at one of the following: 800-936-5900 or https://support.microsoft.com/en-us/answerdesk/accessibility or https://www.microsoft.com/enable/products/Windows 10/iOS 10. Apple released iOS 10 alongside the iPhone 7 and iPhone 7 Plus. The latest update requires 1.1 gigabytes to download, but brings with it some nice features and updates. VoiceOver users will enjoy a couple of new voices, a new in-app VoiceOver rotor option, a quicker way to rearrange apps on your home screen, and an enhancement to photos where background and objects are identified. Low vision users will continue to enjoy Zoom. They will also encounter the new white point balance feature and a new option in accessibility that turns their iOS device into a digital magnifier by triple pressing the home button. All iOS users will enjoy the updated lock screen and notifications views, as well as the ability for third-party apps to integrate with Siri and Messages. They will also appreciate the ability to remove the useless stock apps that came already installed on the device, thus freeing up space for more desirable apps. Although this is but a tip of the iceberg with respect to the updates, they are probably the ones most users will quickly wish to test out. Like all Apple products, building accessibility into the operating system removes most of the questions one possesses regarding updating. This is because VoiceOver, Zoom, and the other accessibility options work flawlessly with iOS 10. However, that does not mean that some bugs do not slip through the cracks. Most notable is an issue where VoiceOver and Zoom may cease to operate properly under certain circumstances when both are activated. This may involve some continuous bugs with Braille screen input. Outside of these, Apple removed many of the legacy bugs, making updating fun. If you were wondering if your iPhone or iPad will be able to support iOS 10, here is the official list of supported devices: iPhone 5, iPhone 5S, iPhone 5C, iPhone 6, iPhone 6 Plus, iPhone SE, iPhone 6S, iPhone 6S Plus, iPhone 7, and iPhone 7 Plus. iPad Pro 12.9 inches, iPad Pro 9.7 inches, iPad Air 2, iPad Air, iPad 4th generation, iPad Mini 4, iPad Mini 3, and iPad Mini 2. iPod Touch 6th generation. Some additional words of caution come for those of you with the lower tier of storage, 8 to 16 gigabytes, or whose devices are nearly maxed out. You may find your device running a bit slower when compared to iOS 9.3.6. To update, navigate to Settings, General, Software Updates, and look for the iOS 10 Download and Install button while connected to Wi-Fi and connected to power. If you have any questions about Apple accessibility, contact Apple Accessibility Support at 877-204-3930 or https://www.apple.com/support/accessibility/contact/. Mac OS Sierra. Apple changed more than the software behind its computers. It ditched Mac OS X to Mac OS Sierra. Technically, Sierra is OS 10.12 when you look in About This Mac. However, don't tell the presses. The Sierra update brought several very nice updates to VoiceOver and accessibility. It also updated how some of the core apps work and finally introduced Siri. Like all Apple products, building accessibility into the operating system removes most of the questions one possesses regarding updating, as VoiceOver, Zoom, and other accessibility options work flawlessly with Sierra. However, that doesn't mean some bugs do not slip through the cracks. If you're wondering if your Mac supports Sierra, here is the official list of supported devices: MacBook Pros 2010 or newer, MacBook 2009 or newer, and MacBook Air 2010 or newer, Mac Mini 2010 or newer, Mac Pro 2010 or newer, iMac 2009 or newer. I issue a word of caution about Macs with just 2 gigabytes of random access memory, and to those who have hard drives which are nearly full, they may experience some sluggishness, especially with VoiceOver. This problem increases if File Vault is used to encrypt a hard drive. One possible catch with Sierra involves whether you might need some extra assistance to use VoiceOver or Zoom with Sierra. How you answer this question depends on your current skill level and if you wish to use Siri. If you are a beginning Mac user, you might want to hold off updating until some sighted assistance is around. This recommendation stems not from any changes in the update, but rather your comfort level completing the updating process. Another group of individuals who might wish to hold off are those who are not comfortable with playing around in system preferences. After each update, it is worth the time to go through all of the system preferences to see what changed. For example, Siri might be available in the dock, but changing the keyboard shortcut requires a quick dive into system preferences. Minus these items, the update will not require any additional VoiceOver or Zoom skills to continue using the Mac. To update, navigate to App Store, Updates, and look for the Mac OS Sierra update or select Update All. If you have any questions about Apple accessibility, contact Apple Accessibility Support at 877-204-3930 or https://www.apple.com/support/accessibility/contact/. Around BVA, CrossFit Marathon supports OKI Group. A group photo in what appears to be a weight room or workout room accompanies this first of several Around BVA entries. There are 12 total individuals pictured, 8 males and 4 females. All are dressed in gym attire. A small portable fan is visible to the left of the group. The room is a spacious one, and although no equipment is seen in the photo, the lighting and nature of the carpet gives one the impression that it is indeed a workout room with weights and machines. The caption states, Blinded Vets Brian Corcoran, lower middle, and Director of District 2, David Fox, 1 row above in middle. Immediately left of David, Brian's wife, Aubrey Corcoran. Immediately right of Brian, 12-year-old Patrick Corcoran. The short write-up begins with the following. Blinded veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps, Brian Corcoran, and his wife Aubrey helped put together a charity CrossFit marathon of some 20 participants to support Brian's Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, OKI, regional group. The event, which took place on Memorial Day, May 30th, was publicized and organized by the Countryside YMCA in the town of Lebanon, Ohio, where Aubrey works as a part-time fitness instructor. The Countryside facility is the largest YMCA facility in the United States, with more than 1,000 members, despite its location in a small town some 45 minutes from Dayton. This was a most thoughtful idea for Aubrey to come up with, and a generous thing for the YMCA to do for us, said Director of District 2, Dave Fox, who attended the marathon with his wife, Carol, and guide dog Manhattan. How many people in this country would do something like this out of the blue? The marathon was a 4-hour event consisting of running, pull-ups, squats, and weightlifting. Dave observed the events and shared BVA information and promotional items with the participants and volunteers. The event also included a commemorative T-shirt. Brian Corcoran joined BVA in Hawaii and moved to the OKI regional group within the past year. He also attended the recent BVA 71st National Convention. He and Aubrey have 5 children ranging from age 5 to 16. Our thanks go out to Brian, Aubrey, and the YMCA for their efforts on our behalf, said Dave. Hopefully there can be another one like it next year or at some other point in the near future when we as a regional group can get more involved in publicizing the event and then participate ourselves." End quote. Veterans Care Reviews to resume in early 2017. BVA will resume its Veterans Care Reviews of VA programs for blinded veterans at the beginning of 2017. BVA Training Coordinator Wade Davis will again arrange and conduct the reviews. The Veterans Care Review is a collaborative effort between BVA and VA to evaluate the full curriculum of care, to share best practices from each VA program, and to make needed recommendations to both the VA facility housing the program and to the VA Central Office in Washington. The 2016 reviews occurred at the 13 BRCs across the VA system. Next year's reviews will focus on Visual Impairment Service Outpatient Rehabilitation, or VISR, programs. Forward progress for new resource center. Still another group photo is part of this issue's Around BVA section. It reveals, as of press time, the staff of the BVA Field Service Resource Center outside the current BVA National Headquarters. All are dressed in formal business attire, but only the gentleman at the far left is wearing a suit coat. The other men are wearing dress shirts and ties only. The two women in the front are wearing pantsuits, although it is impossible to determine the attire for the lady in the back, as most of her is blocked. The caption states, Front row, left to right, Claudia Belk, Maria Ingigneri, Joaquin Espinoza, and Chuck Smith. Back row, Wade Davis, Brenda Davis, and John Kessler. The text of this important Around BVA entry reads as follows. BVA's Field Service Program, FSP, continues in its transition phase to more efficiently provide services to America's blinded veterans as the FSP Resource Center enters its second year of operation. Last year, all of BVA's National Field Service regional offices relocated to the Resource Center, which is housed at BVA National Headquarters in Alexandria, Virginia. All volunteer offices remain open. Two staff members of the Resource Center not previously introduced in the bulletin are National Service Officer Joaquin Espinoza and National Service Representative John Kessler. Joaquin joined the Resource Center last January, moving to Virginia from his previous residence in Fresno, California. Of course, I feel really good about being able to help veterans obtain the benefits they have earned, he said. It is a very fulfilling job that requires one to be sensitive and personal while remaining mentally tough at the same time. End quote. Somewhat difficult for Joaquin has been instances in which he has a work in progress only to learn that the veteran he is assisting has suddenly passed away. Because this work is so personal, the potential exists for it to be painful too, he said. Joaquin was born and raised in Mexico City until the age of 11 when he moved to Texas. He graduated from high school in Keene, Texas, and attended Andrews University in Berrien Springs, Michigan. He later earned an associate degree and a Bachelor of Science degree in industrial technology. He has experience in special education, having taught in San Antonio, in Keene, and at a Texas ranch for disabled youth 6 to 18 years old. A Gulf War-era veteran, Joaquin enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1983 and served until 1992. He was stationed in California, Texas, Camp Lejeune, and at a Navy base in Arizona just before the Gulf War ended. Because I was among the group involved with the launching of missiles, including the Patriot missiles, I just missed going to Kuwait with our units being among the last ones held back, he said. Joaquin remained in the Marine Reserves, which activated him immediately after the terrorist attacks of September 11. Joaquin lost his vision totally in one eye as a result of a botched surgery that attempted to treat an infection that caused swelling. The surgery burned the vessels behind the cornea. He is legally blind in the second eye resulting from diabetes. John Kessler joined BVA in late August as a field service representative. He hails from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and served in the U.S. Marine Corps Infantry for 11 years, which included 5 combat tours to the Middle East. John went to Iraq 3 times and twice to Afghanistan. He received several awards for meritorious and combat service, including the Purple Heart. John relocated to Washington, D.C. in August 2015 and currently resides in Georgetown with his fiancée, Erica. They plan to marry in December and are enthusiastically anticipating the birth of their first child in the early days of April 2017. I am excited to be working with the blinded veteran community and eager to make a difference in the lives of our veterans, he said. Myers represents BVA at local dedication. Perennial BVA National Convention attendee George Myers, Secretary-Treasurer of the Arkansas Regional Group, is equally consistent in supporting events in his local area that honor veterans in any way. On September 16th, George joined leaders of other local veterans service organizations at a new Veterans Monument donated by the Conway County Peacemakers, the latter of which was formed in late 2012 with the purpose of making quilts to comfort combat-injured service members and veterans of the county. The quilts that are presented to the veterans are a reminder of the Peacemakers' appreciation and gratitude for their sacrifices and service. The ceremony took place alongside the new monument on the lawn of St. Vincent CHI Hospital next to the renowned Veterans Walk of Flags permanent exhibition in Morrilton, Arkansas, reported in the summer 2013 Bulletin, and which was supported by George on behalf of BVA. On the front side of the monument is a colored U.S. flag with the inscription, "All gave some gave all," accompanied by emblems of 5 veterans organizations. On the reverse side is the inscription, "Honoring Our Veterans, Conway County Peacemakers," accompanied below by an image of a woman in a long dress sewing a portion of a quilt at a round table. Solemn ceremonies reunite former BVA HQ staff. 3 significant figures from BVA's past experienced a reunion of sorts on August 8th at Arlington National Cemetery as they paid their final respects to a close friend and colleague, General Richard Dick G. Fazakerly. General Fazakerly was BVA's 29th national president from 1995 to 1997 and former director of the Field Service Program 1988 to 1992. He passed away on March 17, 2016. Tom Miller, former Director of Government Relations, 1986 to 1994, and Executive Director, 1994 to 2011, delivered one of the eulogies at a service in the Old Post Chapel at Fort Myer, Virginia. Following the service, the funeral processional proceeded to the cemetery and the site where General Fazakerly was laid to rest and afforded full military honors. Accompanying Tom as his cited guide was former Coordinator of Communications, Chris Bentley, 1992 to 2000. Former Administrative Director John Williams, 1989 to 2004, also attended the services. Avid reader turns author. Ricky Douglas is a member of the Greater Houston Regional Group, an avid reader recently turned publisher-author with Checkered Past, a novel about bad boy Billy Rodriguez and warden Sharon Goldberg. She worries that a lifetime of good deeds may not save her once Billy turns up in her prison. Billy brings with him secrets from her past capable of destroying her reputation, her career, and her marriage, as well as the loss of her freedom. The book was released on July 27th. Nothing foils the enjoyment of a good book for me faster than being able to figure out the plot long before the end, said Ricky. If there aren't enough twists and turns and blind alleys in a story to keep me guessing, I quickly lose interest. Because Ricky had read so many such books, he decided that he could do better and set out to do just that. I quickly learned that I enjoyed writing even more than I enjoyed reading, he said. A former Marine, Ricky has several other projects in varying degrees of completion. He enlisted in August 1974. Totally blind due to complications of diabetes since late 2003, Ricky stopped his writing for a while. It wasn't long, however, before I came to realize that I had much to say, but not necessarily to have it heard, he said. So I taught myself to function well enough to negotiate the rudiments of writing as a blind person, and now I hope to turn my simple enjoyment of writing and storytelling into a lucrative career. In Checkered Past, the plot thickens when Billy's power over Sharon as a result of his knowledge, something he is quick to point out to her, presents a problem Sharon cannot handle alone. She must trust someone, but trusting the wrong someone could cost her everything she spent a lifetime to build. Checkered Past is available to order online and through major bookstores and outlets nationwide. Auxiliaries View by Pam Hogan. Pam's Auxiliaries View column also comes accompanied by her small head and shoulders photo. For what can be viewed, Pam appears to be wearing an elegant dress. She is smiling broadly in the photo. There is no caption. The text of the Auxiliaries View reads as follows. Autumn greetings to our blinded veterans and their families. The weather may be cooling slightly, but for those of us who attended this year's BVA and BVAA national conventions, we are still hot. Yes, hot. Hot with ideas and information to carry us into a new year of activities supporting our Blinded Veterans Association regional groups. We congratulate the newly elected and re-elected national officers of BVAA, especially our new National Secretary, Benjamin Holmes. All of the other officers were re-elected to new terms of office. This year's scholarship awardee was Ariel Taylor of Florida. Ariel is continuing her education. Unfortunately, 2 scholarships were unclaimed this year. Please spread the word of the availability of these scholarships to the spouses and children of our blinded veterans. Please also encourage them to apply and closely follow the instructions in the package. The scholarship application and much other valuable information are available on our BVAA website, www.nbvaaux.org. The Caring for the Caregiver presentations at this year's convention were wonderfully informative and enlightening. Remember, you can't care for others if you don't take care of yourself, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and financially. We offer many thanks to all of our presenters. The silent auction was another success with a great number of wonderful donated items that received bids and raised some $1,700 in funds for BVAA scholarships. The 50-50 drawing always makes the convention awards banquet just a bit livelier. With 50% of the proceeds going to scholarships, the other 50% is split 50, 30, and 20, which gives us 3 winners. This year, our biggest winner, Michelle Tungle, president of the BVA Washington Regional Group, graciously donated her first-place winnings back to the scholarship fund. Thank you, Michelle. Other winners were Maureen Kaminsky of Florida and George Myers of Arkansas. The auxiliary asserts that Milwaukee was a wonderful choice for the 2016 gathering. We enjoyed the charm and great food of the area. The Hilton in downtown Milwaukee wins the award for Best Guide Dog Relief Area ever. We all look forward to another year of helping our blinded veterans help one another. One great opportunity is coming up soon. October 15 is White Cane Awareness Day. Plan to get out there and make it an event. It is amazing how many people do not know what that powerful tool actually is and what it can do. Have a great fall season and stay active and safe. Happenings in District 4 by Genesia Morrow. A photo accompanies this major section of the bulletin. Revealed are 2 gentlemen, the one on the right an elderly gentleman who is wearing a light jacket and a baseball cap that contains the embroidery World War II veteran. The 2 are also dressed in casual attire. The younger gentleman is seated at a 90-degree angle from the first one. Together they are holding up a cake with 2 candles and 4 small circular objects that look like very small balloons, or at least representations of balloons. The smiles of the men are indeed present there, but they are faint smiles. The caption states, Ross and Jack Campagna, father and son blinded veterans, pictured at Low Vision Support Group meeting, at which Central Northern Arizona Regional Group threw a party for Ross's 100th birthday and helped him join BVA. The account of the birthday party begins with the following. The newest BVA member in our Arizona Central Northern Regional Group just celebrated his 100th birthday. The group surprised him and his son Jack, also a blinded BVA veteran, with many well wishes, cake and ice cream, and song. Guests were privileged to hear descriptions of some vital historical events by an actual participant in those events. Ross Campagna, World War II Army veteran, was born on Flag Day, June 14, 1916, in Omaha, Nebraska, of Italian immigrants. He likes to joke that, I was born waving the American flag. Ross met Connie at a church picnic, and it was love at first sight. They have been blessed with 3 children, 7 grandchildren, 10 great-grandchildren, and 4 great-great-grandchildren. Ross and Jack Campagna lived quite close geographically to our regional group vice president, Gary Lamberg, and they have become friends. Jerry mentioned to me that Ross would be turning 100 this year, so I had Jerry ask them to attend our Low Vision Support Group, which was meeting a few days prior to their leaving for Omaha to celebrate this special birthday with a large and loving extended family. Ross and Jack agreed, and I phoned members of the support group, BVA members, and hospital staff to inform them of a surprise party. On the designated day, Ross and Jack came into a packed meeting room and were surprised by shouts of happy birthday and some singing. Balloons floated, various snacks were made available, and cake was served as both posed and party-goers listened attentively as Ross answered queries and told stories about General George Patton, his unit, the battles, the cold, and survival. The 2 hours passed much too quickly, and the 2 had difficulty leaving due to well-wishers surrounding them. One of Ross's major life accomplishments was serving in the Army Reconnaissance with the 4th Armored Division under General Patton. He and his fellow soldiers marched from Normandy, France, to Czechoslovakia, taking part in 5 campaigns, including the Battle of Bastogne and the Battle of the Bulge in Belgium. At one point, when the German Army had the 101st Airborne Division surrounded, Ross's unit fought diligently and liberated the 101st. Joining forces, the unit proceeded to Hitler's home, the Eagle's Nest, but missed Hitler to their great disappointment. Ross's unit also liberated a smaller concentration camp in Ohrdruf, Poland, near Buchenwald, where 11,700 prisoners were being held. After the war, Ross and Connie settled in Omaha to raise their family. Ross worked for the Army Corps of Engineers until retirement. In 2014, he participated in an honor flight to Washington, D.C. to visit the World War II Memorial and meet with other veterans. While there, he met another veteran and was thrilled to discover that veteran had served in the 101st Airborne Division, saved by Ross's unit during the war. For this birthday, Ross and Jack traveled to Omaha to celebrate, surrounded by his large, loving family. He also purchased a lottery ticket. It seemed appropriate. Being the opportunist I am, I accompanied them in as they went to their vehicle and stopped to fill out an application for BVA membership. It took a bit of time before they returned, supplied DD-214s, and acquired the necessary letters stating legal blindness status. Ross and Jack Campagna will participate as guests of honor of the Blinded Veterans Association's Arizona Central Northern Regional Group in the 2016 Phoenix Veterans Day Parade. From the field staff by Ed Eckroth. A thumbnail photo of Ed also accompanies his column. It is a headshot that shows him with dark glasses and a face turned on an angle. A couple of stars and one stripe from a U.S. flag are visible in the background. There is no caption. The content of Ed's column write-up begins. Huge savings for new BVA Life members. The time to join is now. Delegates appointed by their respective regional groups to the 71st National Convention of the Blinded Veterans Association voted August 26 overwhelmingly in favor of adopting a bylaw amendment offering life membership to all blinded veterans at a discounted one-time payment in full of $20. Our organization needs to think outside the box and figure out a way to provide an immediate incentive to make it easier to get blind veterans to join as life or associate life members, the proposed bylaw change justification stated. It is evident more now than ever that BVA needs to come up with some real incentives for blind veterans to join BVA, end quote. The amendment, which will be in effect from September 1, 2016 through and including August 1, 2017, will save blinded veterans $30 to $80 on membership costs. Membership dues prior to the amendment were determined by age categories. Within these categories, the youngest age group was paying $100 and the oldest $50 for a life membership. It is our hope that this bylaw amendment will inspire the some 48,000 blind veterans throughout the VA healthcare system to immediately join BVA, the bylaw justification further stated. Any person having been or who is now in the armed forces of the United States shall be eligible if he or she has sustained an impairment of sight or vision, which is defined as central visual acuity of 20/200 or less in the better eye with corrective lenses, or a visual field restriction of no greater than 20 degrees or less in the better eye. Life membership is granted when the impairment of sight or vision is determined to be service-connected, in the line of duty, by VA or DOD. Associate life membership is granted when the impairment of sight or vision is not determined to be service-connected, not incurred in the line of duty, by VA or DOD. As part of the application process, the promotional membership application form sent to BVA must be accompanied by the following items on official VA letterhead or through Visual Impairment Services Team, VIST, Veterans Health Administration Examination Notes. Branch of service, beginning and ending dates of service, name of VIST coordinator, confirmation of meeting standards of blindness as follows: ICD-9-CM Diagnosis Code 369.4 Legal Blindness, or visual acuity of 20/200 or worse in the better eye with corrective lenses, or visual field restriction to 20 degrees diameter or less in the better eye. Letters to the editor. Wonderful Milwaukee. My wonderful experience at the 71st BVA National Convention, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, exceeded my dreams of grandeur. The hotel lobby decor was very ritzy. The beautiful Southern-style pattern on the wing-back chairs, with soft lights glistening off the dark smoked mirrors, gave way for a relaxing atmosphere. The large, spacious session areas, with the many grand ballrooms, and one in particular with an elegant staircase, were definitely breathtaking. The staircase reminded me of a scene from the movie Gone with the Wind. The edifying speeches made by the governor, the senator, the mayor, the congresswoman, and the secretary of Veterans Affairs were very informative and spirited. The vendor's exhibit hall was exciting. It had many new instruments and devices for the visually impaired to cope with their everyday challenges. I had no personal reading device with me, so one of the vendors provided me with an Essenbach handheld reading device to complete my mission at hand. I engaged myself with many demonstrations to further my knowledge of what I need to meet my daily challenges. The workshops were plentiful and engaging, especially the legislative session. I improved my awareness of the workings of the governing boards of the regional groups by attending the officers' session. We discussed many possible new incentives for increasing the membership. We also discussed the treasury funds. The president's reception and Father Carroll luncheon were upbeat and enthusiastic. The banquet, our grand finale, was magnificent and the food was superb. The table arrangements were set with such elegance, suitable for the men and women who have served this country. The service was professional, second to none. I enjoyed myself immensely at this, my second national convention. I encourage wholeheartedly my BVA comrades to attend one soon, perhaps even next year. It is an event to remember for a lifetime. The New York Regional Group thanks the project manager, Miss Christina Hitchcock, for all she did to make the week memorable for us. Warner Murray, New York, New York. Gratitude for Gruber Award. I am a 2016-2017 Catherine F. Gruber Scholarship recipient and wish to express my great appreciation for this gift. Words cannot honestly deliver the magnitude of my thanks. I can only hope that my future contributions to the community and rehabilitation field will make BVA proud. I promise to put the education from these funds to great use and promote the BVA mission to the best of my abilities. Cassandra Lowry, student of physical therapy, class of 2019. In Remembrance. A color photo has been placed above the half page of names contained in Remembrance. The photo reveals a group of some 8 Army Honor Guardsmen pallbearers carrying a casket draped in the United States flag. In the background to the left and to the right are several rows of white headstones. The caption states, "On August 8th, the late General Richard Fazakerly received full honors provided by the Army, his branch of service. These honors included an escort platoon, a military band, and a caisson. As a general, he was eligible for and received an 11-gun cannon salute." The In Remembrance section proceeds as follows. The Blinded Veterans Association deeply regrets the passing of the following blinded veterans. From the Central California Regional Group, A. J. Yates. From the Connecticut Regional Group, Benjamin F. Wells. Florida Regional Group, Paul Bucheri. Dorothy I. Dube. Warren Lee Fuller. Warren S. Harriman. William G. Huggins. Bruce D. West. Georgia Regional Group, Louise D. Smith. Heartland Regional Group, Chester R. Lady. Indiana Regional Group, Jackie Lee Pope. From the Louisiana Group, Arnold L. Davis, Robert C. Turner. Mid-Atlantic Group, Livingston V. Cummings, Theodoro Maldonado, Brendan P. Ridge, Ronald R. Starcher. From the Minnesota Regional Group, Herman J. Whitsack. From the Mountain States Group, Stephen D. Miller. Nebraska Regional Group, John Goodhard, Leonard Jefferson. New Jersey Regional Group, John T. Dalsey. Northern Arizona Regional Group, James A. Harrison. Ohio Group, Daniel P. Cross. Pennsylvania Regional Group, Frank Bzorek, Joe E. Day, Michael P. Hegarty, Walter Tarwacki. Puerto Rico Regional Group, Juan Olmeda Rivera. And from the Rio Grande Regional Group, Jose Dominguez, Thomas C. Fraser, Rudy Ortiz, Felix R. Waller. Final thought. The final thought of this, the September-October 2016 BVA Bulletin, is accompanied by a photo of 2 ladies posing with a large gift basket. They are dressed casually. Both are smiling broadly in the photo. The 2 are standing in the outdoors but beneath a roof. On a panel below the roof, in an entryway, are the following words: Blind Rehabilitation Center. There is no caption with this photo, but the final thought functions as the caption in this case and describes the photo as follows. To what amazing lengths will the BVA Auxiliary go in order to secure a sale at the convention silent auction? BVAA National Vice President Edna Kirksey Dixon, Wright, can certainly answer that question. On September 2nd, Edna drove 93 miles from her home in Bay Minette, Alabama, a one-way trip of an hour and 45 minutes, to deliver a basket of bath items to Biloxi, Mississippi BRC Chief Deborah Gilley, just a few days after driving home from the convention. Deborah had been in Milwaukee for the VA Blind Rehabilitation Service meetings concurrent with the BVA convention and bought the basket after Edna promised to deliver it to her personally. And this concludes the audio version of the September-October 2016 BVA Bulletin.